Late one night, I sat at my kitchen table, staring at my electricity bill in absolute disbelief. The number on the page was nearly double what it usually was. My heart pounded. Something wasn't right. How could this be possible? I leaped up and started checking everything. Every appliance, every light, every device in my house that could be pulling power. But no matter how much I searched, there was nothing to explain the sudden spike. My mind raced, trying to make sense of it all. And then, just out of the corner of my eye, I noticed something. A slight movement near my driveway. My breath caught in my throat as I turned to get a better look. There, lurking in the shadows, was my neighbor Karen. She crept toward my house with the stealth of a seasoned thief, her eyes darting around to make sure no one was watching. And then, right in front of me, she had the audacity to reach for my outdoor outlet and plug in her electric car. My jaw practically hit the floor. What? How long had she been doing this? I rushed to check my security footage, my hands trembling with fury. And what I saw made my blood absolutely boil. There she was, night after night, sneaking over like some kind of power-hungry bandit, stealing my electricity as if it were her own personal charging station. My fists clenched so tightly my knuckles turned white. She thought she could get away with this? That I wouldn't notice? Oh, she was so wrong. If Karen wanted free electricity, I was about to give her a shocking surprise she'd never forget. Now, let me give you some context. I live in what's supposed to be a quiet, well-maintained neighborhood. The kind where the HOA is quick to slap people with fines for the smallest infractions, like having your grass an inch too tall or leaving your trash bins out a little too long. But when it came to Karen, oh, she was a different story. She strutted around as if she owned the place, bending every rule to suit herself while making life miserable for the rest of us. If there was a petty complaint to be made, she was always the first to report it. But when it came to her own behavior, suddenly, the rules just didn't apply. Recently, Karen had purchased an electric car. And instead of doing the responsible thing like, installing a charging station at her own house, she found a much easier solution: stealing my electricity. At first, I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe, just once, she plugged into the wrong outlet, thinking it was hers. But as soon as my bill skyrocketed, I knew I had to start paying attention. And that's when I caught her red-handed. Late at night, sneaking over to my driveway, casually plugging her car in as if it were her right. The next morning, I confronted her, expecting at least a shred of guilt, maybe even an apology. But what did she do? She smirked and denied everything. Even when I showed her video proof, she had the nerve to laugh it off and act like I was making a big deal out of nothing. And then, oh, this part is rich. She actually had the audacity to threaten me. She said if I didn't stop harassing her, she'd report me to the HOA.
Can you believe that?
That was it. That was the moment I decided I wasn't going to just sit back and let her take advantage of me. If she wanted to play dirty,
fine.
I was about to play smarter. I needed more proof. Not just for myself, but enough that no one, not even her little HOA buddies, could ignore what she was doing. The security footage I had was already solid, but I wanted something bulletproof. So, I took it up a notch. I installed a second camera with a better angle, ensuring it captured every single second of her sneaky nighttime visits. Then I hooked up a timer to my outdoor outlet, one that logged every instance of it being used. Now, I could track exactly when and for how long she was stealing my power. But here's where things got even more interesting. One evening, while casually chatting with my next-door neighbor, Mr. Peterson, an older gentleman who had lived in the neighborhood for years, I brought up my little electricity problem. I expected him to be shocked, maybe even offer some sympathy. Instead, his expression darkened. "You too," he muttered, shaking his head. And that's when he told me Karen had been pulling this stunt for months. Not just with me, but with at least 2 other neighbors. The difference? They had suspicions, but no solid proof. Well, guess what? I had proof. And I was about to use it. Confronting her was pointless. She'd already proven she had no shame. Lying to my face, smirking at my evidence, threatening me with the HOA? She wasn't going to stop on her own. So I decided to make her stop. If Karen wanted free electricity, I was going to give it to her, but not in the way she expected. I rewired the outdoor outlet, hooking it up to a separate battery, one with just enough charge to turn on, but not enough to power anything. Then I installed a hidden speaker right next to it, one that would play a very special message at just the right moment. Now, all I had to do was wait. Sure enough, just past midnight, I saw her on my security feed, creeping out of her house, glancing around like some kind of second-rate criminal. She had gotten bolder. This time, she didn't even bother being cautious. She marched right up to my driveway, plugged in her charger, and leaned against her car, waiting for it to charge. Except this time it didn't. A few seconds later, my hidden speaker crackled to life, and my pre-recorded message boomed into the silent night. Attention! You are stealing electricity. This incident has been recorded and reported to the authorities. Karen practically jumped out of her skin. Her head snapped up, her eyes wide with terror. For a moment, she just stood there, frozen in sheer panic. And then, bam! She yanked the charger out, fumbled with it, and bolted toward her house like a terrified raccoon caught in a trash can. I barely held in my laughter as I watched the whole thing unfold. It was priceless. And that was just the beginning. The next morning, I sent the footage to the HOA with a formal complaint. But to my surprise, silence. No action. No response. That's when it hit me. Karen had connections. Maybe she had friends on the board. Maybe they just didn't want to deal with it. But you know what? I didn't need them. I sent the footage to my neighbors, the ones she had been stealing from. And the moment they saw it, the real pressure began. One by one, people started speaking up. Mr. Peterson was the first to act, storming into the next HOA meeting demanding action. Then another neighbor joined in. And another. Before long, the entire room was buzzing about Karen's theft. With so much public pressure, the HOA had no choice but to act. Karen was slapped with a massive fine, forced to pay back every stolen cent, and banned from charging her car anywhere in the neighborhood unless she installed her own charging station. And just a few months later, a for sale sign appeared in her yard. Good riddance.